name is Sarah Mandel. You can call me Sarah. I am a mom of 2 daughters and the wife of my college sweetheart. We've been together now 20 plus years, and we live together in Manhattan. And I'm a clinical psychologist and have worked with people who've experienced trauma. In terms of how I found out about Mary's Place and why I'm here today, I was on my way to work back in 2017 and had a doctor's appointment and found out that I had breast cancer. And at the time I was pregnant with my second child, and soon thereafter I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and it had spread throughout my bones and to my liver, and it was pretty grim in terms of prognosis, and it seemed as if my death was imminent. I had to use a walker to get around, and I went through treatment, and after 3 months of treatment I got a PET scan, and the PET scan showed that there was no evidence of disease in my body, which is unheard of. It showed that I was clean. The cancer that had been teeming like everywhere in my body was gone. Last January in 2021, I was diagnosed with cancer in my brain. And apparently there's dust that had reached my brain back originally when I was diagnosed with cancer, but it just wasn't coming up on the scans at that time. And so it's been growing over the years, and the medications I was on, they couldn't kind of get through the blood-brain barrier. So now I'm in a different stage of the cancer fighting the breast cancer in my brain, which is a little bit of a confusing concept, but I had to stop seeing my patients in my psychotherapy practice, which was definitely a loss, and for them and definitely for me. I've been to Mary's Place 2 times. The first time was in 2019, and I was considered NED, and I was back at work, and I was mom, working, juggling, doing the juggling act, and still getting treatment for the cancer to keep it hopefully at its NED levels. And I remember I heard about Mary's Place from a couple of women at Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is where I receive cancer treatment. And I thought, this place just seems too good to be true. Is this for real? And I wanted to check it out, and I Googled it, and I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. They offer all these services. It sounds like it's a beautiful location. But there was a part of me that thought, I can't just take 2 nights and leave my family and go do this thing. But I got here, and I was so happy that I took the time for me to rest and to be embraced by the people at Mary's Place. It just felt like home from the first moment I stepped through the doors. And it gave me a sense of permission to just take care of myself, even though I was so busy back then and I was in that mode of go, 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 go. I really allowed myself to take a break, and Mary's Place made me realize I need to do that. I need to do that. Came back again about a month ago, and the rhythm of my life has changed since the brain cancer diagnosis. So I'm not working, and I have embraced more of the self-care mentality. I had no qualms about just soaking up the experience, and I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew that it was going to be beautiful and an experience that was gonna just make me feel full of warmth and care and love, and that's exactly what it was. The services are so phenomenal. The quality of the practitioners that are at Mary's Place it's staggering. Lori, who teaches about nutrition, or the massage therapist or reflexologist, everybody is so committed to providing a positive healing experience for each individual that comes through these doors. And I think for so many people that experience cancer, there's this profound sense of betrayal that you feel towards your own body, and it's really hard to shake initially. And at Mary's Place, there's a shift that happens where you start to feel a sense of friendship budding between yourself and your body, because you're feeling this healing touch from a practitioner who really knows how to make you feel good in your own body, and that can challenge all of the views that you've had of your body as an enemy up until this point. So for me, I think the body therapies have been incredibly helpful, and just reminding me that there is good in my body, that I can get along with this body. The people here are just, it's unbelievable. You walk through the doors and everyone is smiling, genuine smiles, and exuding this kind of light and love. And everyone, you can tell, just wants to be here, that works and volunteers here, and they want you to be comfortable and they want you to be cared for. And it can be in conversations, it can be in like refusing to let you pick up a plate after yourself. Like you will not do anything for yourself while you stay here. Like it's really about letting other people take care of you, and it's remarkable. I don't think most people get that kind of experience in their life, and especially when you're really sick and you need to be taken care of. Coming to a place like Mary's Place, it's really moving to be cared for in such a profound way by strangers who, by the end of the 2 days of staying here, they don't feel like strangers. They feel like family. There's so many wonderful moments I can think of, but like an impromptu dinner around the kitchen island. We were just chatting it up, and it felt like we were just hanging out at a friend's house, just having laughs together. And it was so pure and joyful. And you would think, oh, you're going to a place where there are a lot of people with cancer, like, oh, this is gonna be heavy. And it's not. There's a lightness here. There's definitely a sense of you can talk about what you're experiencing with your cancer and with your trauma, and people talk about what they're going through, but there's also there's so much hope that's just surrounding the experience of being here, and there's just light streaming in through the windows and this beautiful, cheery home, and right outside is the ocean and the fresh ocean air, and it's a place that is so different than what I imagine so many of us are coming from, being in bed all the time, or being in the hospital all the time, or waiting rooms, to arrive at such a beautiful place, so different from the landscape that we're accustomed to. it really awakens the senses and makes you realize there's a whole other world out there than what I've been living in bed or in my, chemo suite, and it's good. From a clinical psychology perspective, we know that having support for women in particular with breast cancer, with any type of cancer, is incredibly healing. And it's easy to kind of disappear into your diagnosis and into the trauma of it and feel isolated and insecure and lose self-esteem as part of the trauma reaction. Like you just become the cancer and nothing else. Oh, there's the woman with cancer. People don't really know necessarily how to interact with you, or you think that people don't know how to interact with you. But here, everybody's on the same page. Everybody knows that everybody else has gone through something really grueling and difficult, and it's out there, and you can talk about it or not. And what often happens here is that you talk about it and you support each other, you share resources, you cry together, you laugh together, and you're in classes together, you're learning together, but you're doing all of these activities together. It's a very kind of bonding experience to be in a home with other women who understand each other on such a intense level. And there's a shift between, like, when you walk through the door, when you first get here, and then when you leave, you can see a difference on people's faces, that their identities have shifted somewhat, that they feel more empowered, and they have a greater sense of self, because they've shared themselves so much with other people. I mean, I think openness to experience. I think I was hesitant to come the first time around. It seemed like radical to me to go to a place that I didn't know much about by myself, to take the risks. I mean, right now it sounds ridiculous to take the risk of going to Mary's place. Like, this is the most comfortable, beautiful place you could go. But at the time, it seemed like a big deal. It seemed like a big deal to take time out of my busy life to come to a place I didn't know, and give myself over to services and a group setting that I wasn't familiar with. I think it made me more of a yes person in terms of trying things outside of the box. And like the shift from the first time I was here to the last time I was here a month ago, I just think is really interesting, because the first time I went through the motions and I was very impressed, and I loved the experience. But the last time I was here, it was like I felt like I was having an almost out-of-body experience in a good way. Not in a dissociated way, but in a good way. I remember I was making like really difficult decisions, like, should I walk on the boardwalk, or should I walk on the beach where the water meets the sand? That's a tough one. And I ended up walking on the beach, and then I was looking at the waves, and they were big that day, but there were other people in the waves, and I thought, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. And I ran into the ocean, and I just was bobbing with the waves in the ocean. And these are things I never would have done years ago. Like I just would have stayed on the beach, or I would have stayed on the boardwalk, and I would have done what was easier and like avoided the mess of sand for whatever reason, I don't know why. But I think there's a permission that I was granted by coming here to just live, and that bobbing in the sea, I will never forget that moment of freedom, of feeling that just empowerment and freedom as I looked up at the sky and felt the sea holding me, and just knowing that I was really present in the moment and taking care of myself 100%.